we're going to go historical because Dennis Rodman, who played against Larry Bird back for Detroit in the late 80s, he was asked, and it's a wide-ranging thing, Ephraim. Gilbert Arenas, first of all, said that Larry Bird would probably beat LeBron James in a game of one-on-one. And so that statement was made to Dennis Rodman on Vlad TV, and here's what Rodman said.
If Larry Bird played in this era, I think he'd be in Europe. So I'm just letting you know, man. Really, like I said, don't just say he'd be somewhere over there. Because, I think his game was fit for Boston at that time in the 80s and stuff like that. But today's world, oh, hell no. There's no way. I'm not downplaying him because he's a great player at that time, just like I was. But I'm saying, no, there's no way. I think the kid from Denver is way better than him.
He talking about Nikola Jokic. I don't even know if he knew his name.
From Denver.
First of all, let me address the LeBron thing. I think LeBron would beat Larry Bird in one-on-one. I think LeBron is better than Bird. But, I think Bird is clearly a top 10 player of all time. And Rodman is way, way, way off on this. And I think we have to address really Rodman. Rodman, for some reason, maybe because Bird was beating him, he don't like Larry Bird. And you remember, Ephraim, when Detroit met Boston in the Eastern Conference Finals in 1987, and Boston beat them in 7 games. And after the 7th game, that's when Rodman said Bird is overrated and basically that he's getting all of these accolades and all of this love because he's white. And if he was black, he'd just be kind of another player. Now, mind you, moments earlier, Bird had just dropped 37 points, 9 assists, and 9 rebounds on Rodman. But everybody remembers that, and Isaiah Thomas got involved and kind of seconded what Rodman said, and, it became a big deal. But I think he is out of his mind. Larry Bird, if he played today, Ephraim, might be better than in his day because he'd be shooting more three-pointers, and he's one of the greatest shooters ever. And he was a phenomenal player, and I think people
tremendous passer as well.
Absolutely. I think he was a better passer than LeBron.
Larry Bird.
I don't think it's even a discussion.
Think about this. At a time where the league needed a rebirth.
Yep.
Coming off the merger between the ABA, the NBA, the league needed something, right? You finally got to have Dr. J in the NBA, Moses Malone, right? All of these things, and in comes this kid from Michigan State, Magic Johnson. And in comes this kid, Larry Bird. From Indiana State, right? Larry Bird. That is what made the NBA what it is now. That rivalry. Those two dynamic, all-time great players who played each other in college and carried that same thing over into the NBA. Their skill levels and hatred for each other were on par with each other.
Yep.
Would you say Magic Johnson, if he played today, would be playing in Europe?
Great point. And look, I think Magic would be tremendous today. But of the two, and like I said, obviously I'd never make this argument, but Ephraim, of the two players, if you wanted to say one was not built for today's game, the one you would say would be Magic. Because Magic didn't shoot that well.
I would never say
now,
that.
I wouldn't make that argument, but I wouldn't make that argument. I'm just saying.
If you had to say somebody.
If you had, like, my point is just that if you were going to pick one of those two that you thought might struggle more in today's game, I think Magic would have adjusted and been fantastic. But I'm just saying he lacked a great skill that is obviously big time today. And I think he would have become a better jump shooter. But you remember he had that set shot.
Yeah, he had a set shot.
Yeah.
But that wasn't his thing. His thing was movement. His thing was movement. We're going to change the tempo
and make it everybody better.
You have to catch up with us.
Right.
You have to catch up with us. And his generalship, his court leadership, all of those things made him, in my opinion, one of the, if not the greatest point guard to ever play. His counterpart, Larry Bird, was the mirror image of that. He was a white guy who was all about shooting, competing, and an ultimate teammate. So you had two guys. Remember the weapons commercial? Same shoe, different color, back to back. Magic pulls up in the cornfield in a limo. Right? So
everybody was wearing weapons.
Yeah, that's what the shoe was. That was the shoe until Jordan.
Right.
And so it was the same shoe. Nobody got a different design. You just had the colorway.
You had a different color.
Right? You had the colorway. That's just they cornered the market in that. But to say that guy who stood chin to chin, shoulder to shoulder, and competed at the highest level with one of the all-time greats wouldn't be able to play today?
It's unbelievable. Well, here's how
that's
good
just
Larry,
hate. That's just hatred.
Yeah, that's all that is.
And
that's why I brought up the issue in '87. Because he's got, and I get it. I guess Larry was beating him so much.
Well, nobody wanted to get cooked by, especially basketball. Right. You took pride. You didn't want to be cooked by a white guy. Like it was just like
right.
But basketball, it transcends color. Like its skill is skill.
Well, here's how good Larry Bird was, Ephraim. The year before he got to Boston, they won 29 games. He goes there, and they win 61. And then the next year, they win the
championship.
Like,
the only person that got in his way to winning the championship really was the Magic. It was that
Magic, Dr. J and Magic. I mean,
right?
Dr.
Like
J,
so,
they play in the conference finals a lot.
You know what I mean? So it was. No, man, he's one of the top players to ever play in any era. His game translates, period.
I've actually said, and maybe you've heard me say this, Nikola Jokic reminds me, now their games are somewhat different, but he's like a 7-foot Larry Bird to me because not fast, not, jumping high, but a great shooter, not as good as Bird, but still a great shooter, great passer, great rebounder. Bird was a great rebounder. And defensively, not a lockdown guy, but because they're big and they were smart and they have good instincts, they actually were good defenders. Yeah. Not all league type defenders, but good defenders. It wasn't a weakness. And one thing I like about Bird, and I've said this, Ephraim, before Jokic, but just in recent years, I think I said Steph, James Harden, now Jokic. What I like about them, and this goes way back to Bird, is that they are reminding us. They are letting people know the game is really about skills and fundamentals. Like, if you know how to play the game and you are skilled, now, yes, you need a certain degree of athleticism or height, size. But if you meet that criteria, whether it's athleticism or size, then if you have skills, you can excel in the NBA. And I think during the Jordan era, it wasn't Jordan's fault. Just like it's not Steph's fault that everybody wants to shoot threes at the lower levels. But I think Jordan wowed us so much with his athleticism that the game for about 2 decades became hyper-focused on athleticism. How high can you jump? How fast can you run? How quick are you? To the exclusion of skills in some cases. And I think now with Harden and Steph and Jokic and some others, it's brought it back to, you know what? It's really about skills.
Yeah, it is. And when you look at that era with Jordan and Dominique,
Drexler.
Right? Drexler. Jordan wasn't Dominique wasn't a knockdown shooter, but you look up and he had 45 points. It's like, wait, what just happened?
Right.
This is the same man who shot a 18-foot jumper and then windmilled it back off the rebound. It was about scoring. It wasn't about the handle. Jordan made basketball sexy. Jordan made basketball unexplainable.
Right.
And that also propelled the league. The skill that we're seeing with the step back, the Euro step, right? The ability to create your shot with minimal space. These guys are putting up these shots from 25 feet with no space.
They shooting logo threes like it's nothing.
Without even pushing the ball, they're shooting it. So the skill level has increased, and I think that is lending to the way people see older players, because Larry Bird wasn't shooting a step back like that.
Well,
he was going to pull up with both hands, look you in your eyeball, and just that double overhand shot. You know what I mean?
One thing I think, and I heard Kevin Garnett say this, I think he was talking with Paul Pierce on his podcast. No, he was talking with Tracy McGrady. And T-Mac made a great point. Both of them did. Back in the day, and this is Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler is like this. No wasted dribbles. It's not like now you will see guys, they'll beat you and then come back.
And beat you again.
Right? And beat you again, or try to beat you again, or beat you again. Whereas B.J. Armstrong once told us on this show, the genius of Michael Jordan was that he learned to dominate the game in 3 dribbles or less, because that makes it better for your teammates. He wasn't pounding the ball for 15, 20 seconds.
He did not James Harden the
I'm taking my 3 dribbles right, and I'm pulling up. And Jimmy Butler is a throwback in that sense. You know, he's not all fancy with the handle, not shooting 30-footers, 25-footers for the most part, but he gets you buckets. He's more efficient in his movements, and that's kind of a throwback.